Woman poses with dad, takes a closer look at the photo, and starts to panic. Imagine this. You're on vacation in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, London. You're with your dad, laughing, taking photos, feeling like everything is perfect. But then, as you glance at a photo you just took, something catches your eye. Something that makes your blood run cold. A missing person flyer in the background of your picture. And the face on that flyer, it looks eerily familiar. Too familiar. This isn't just any story. It's a tale about identity, family, and secrets buried so deep they threaten to shatter. Lives. Today, we're diving into the shocking journey of Ellie Gibson, a young woman whose life changes forever after an innocent snapshot on a sunny morning near Tower Bridge. Ellie is like any other 18-year-old, full of dreams, excited about exploring new places, and eager to make memories with her parents. She's visiting London for the first time, soaking in the vibrant energy of the city alongside her father, Henry. They've been walking along the Queen's Walk, chatting about future trips, when they stumble upon a street photographer, offering instant magnetic prints. For Ellie, it feels like the perfect way to capture their special moment together. Little does she know, this simple decision will unravel a web of lies that has shaped her entire existence. As she poses with her dad against the iconic backdrop of Tower Bridge, neither of them realizes how profoundly different their lives are about to become. The day starts innocently enough. The crisp air carries the scent of the river as Ellie marvels at the sights around her. Her laughter echoes through the streets, light and carefree, while Henry teases her about cutting back on online shopping if they want to plan another trip next year. It's a normal conversation between a loving father and his daughter. But things take a strange turn, almost immediately after they take the photo. When Ellie asks to see the printed copy, Henry hesitates, tucking it quickly into his pocket without explanation. At first, Ellie brushes it off, thinking maybe he didn't like how the shot turned out or was just being playful. Yet, there's something nagging at the edges of her mind. A small voice telling her that something isn't quite right. Back at their cozy Airbnb apartment, Ellie scrolls through the digital version of the photo on her phone. She zooms in, adjusts the contrast, and suddenly freezes. There it is, a green trash bin in the corner of the frame, with a missing person flyer taped to it. Squinting closer, she sees the face of a little girl staring back at her. The resemblance is uncanny, unsettling, even. Why does this child look so much like her? Shaking off the eerie feeling, Ellie posts the photo online, hoping to share a happy memory with her friends. But within minutes, comments start pouring in, each one pointing out the same thing. Ellie, that girl in the flyer, looks exactly like you. Panic begins to creep in as Ellie tries to process what everyone is saying. Could it be true? Is there some connection between her and this missing child? Meanwhile, Ellie's parents, Henry and Lisa, seem oddly distant throughout the day. When Ellie mentions wanting to see the actual flyer from the trash bin, Henry grows visibly uncomfortable. He claims it must have blown away, but Ellie knows she saw him tuck it into his jacket pocket earlier. Then during lunch, her casual request for childhood photos sends both her parents into a frenzy of excuses. Something doesn't add up. Their behavior becomes increasingly suspicious, especially when they encounter a woman putting up more of those flyers outside their building. The fear in Henry and Lisa's eyes is palpable, and Ellie can't shake the feeling that they're hiding something massive. What could possibly terrify her parents so much? As the day wears on, Ellie finds herself consumed by questions. Who is the girl in the flyer? Why do people keep saying she resembles her? And why are her parents acting so strangely? Determined to get answers, she sneaks a peek at the flyer, hidden in Henry's jacket. When they return to the apartment, what she discovers shocks her to the core. The date on the flyer reads 2005, the same year Ellie would have been born. The pieces start coming together in her mind, but none of it makes sense. Desperate for clarity, she digs deeper, scrolling through old photos on her father's social media profile. That's when she stumbles upon a picture of herself as a toddler, taken years before the age listed on the flyer. The resemblance is undeniable. It's not just a coincidence, it's a clue, and it leads Ellie straight to the horrifying truth. But uncovering the truth comes at a cost. As Ellie confronts her parents, the facade of their idyllic family crumbles. Henry and Lisa admit to something unimaginable. They kidnapped Ellie when she was just 3 years old. The revelation leaves Ellie reeling, torn between the love she's always felt for her parents and the betrayal of knowing her entire life was built on deception. Just when she thinks things can't get worse, Henry's desperation escalates dangerously. In a moment of sheer panic, he lashes out, leaving Ellie trapped and terrified. Will she ever escape the nightmare she's found herself in? Or will the people she trusted most destroy the fragile thread of hope she clings to? In the midst of chaos, an unexpected ally emerges. Lisa, racked with guilt and fear, risks everything to help Ellie flee. With trembling hands, she urges Ellie to go to the police, promising that it's the only way out. Armed with evidence, the flyers, and the photo print, Ellie runs through the streets of London, her heart pounding as she races toward the police station. Every step takes her further away from the only life she's ever known, and closer to a reality she barely understands. But even as she seeks safety, questions linger. Who are her real parents? Do they still search for her after all these years? And can Ellie ever reconcile the two families vying for her heart? This story isn't just about a missing child or a shocking crime. It's about the complexity of human relationships. It's about the love that binds us, the lies that divide us, and the courage it takes to face the truth. As Ellie steps into the police station, clutching the evidence that will change her life forever, she knows nothing will ever be the same again. But what happens next? Does she find closure with her biological parents? Can she forgive Henry and Lisa for the life they stole from her? And most importantly, who is Ellie Gibson, or rather Sarah Wells, truly meant to be? Stay tuned for the next part of this gripping saga, where the answers lie just beyond the horizon, waiting to reshape Ellie's destiny in ways she never imagined. As Ellie sat in the police station, her mind raced with questions that seemed to have no answers. The faces of Nessa and Edric, her biological parents, were etched with a mix of relief and sorrow, while the image of Henry and Lisa being led away replayed in her mind like a broken record. She felt torn between two worlds, two families, and each tug at her heartstrings only deepened the ache inside her. The officers had explained that DNA results confirmed what everyone already suspected. Ellie was Sarah Wells, the missing child from Hyde Park all those years ago. But knowing the truth didn't make it easier to process. Every glance at Nessa and Edric filled her with guilt for still caring about Henry and Lisa. Yet every memory of her childhood reminded her of the love they had given her, a love built on lies. The weight of the situation pressed down on Ellie as she tried to piece together how this had happened. Her kidnappers weren't strangers. They were the people who had raised her, celebrated birthdays with her, cheered at school plays, and comforted her during tough times. How could someone capable of such tenderness also be capable of stealing a child? And then there was Lisa's face when she hit Henry with the pan, the look of sheer terror, mixed with resolve. It haunted Ellie. Was Lisa truly sorry? Or was she just desperate to avoid prison? Had she helped Ellie escape out of genuine remorse? Or because she saw no other way out? These thoughts swirled in Ellie's head, leaving her more confused than ever. Meanwhile, Nessa and Edric struggled to hold themselves together. They wanted nothing more than to take their daughter home, to rebuild the life stolen from them 18 years ago. Yet they understood that Ellie needed time. "We've waited this long," Edric whispered to Nessa as they watched Ellie stare blankly at the wall. "We can wait longer if we have to." Still, seeing their grown-up daughter sitting before them, a stranger shaped by another family's hands, was almost unbearable. Each smile Ellie gave felt bittersweet. Each tear she shed cut deeper into their hearts. They couldn't help but wonder, would Ellie ever fully embrace them as her parents? Or would the shadow of Henry and Lisa always linger between them? Back at the apartment, chaos reigned. Neighbors reported hearing shouting and loud noises coming from the Gibsons' unit earlier that day. When authorities arrived, they found Henry unconscious on the floor, and evidence scattered around the room: the flyers, the photo print, and Lisa's frantic call to emergency services. During questioning, Lisa broke down completely, confessing everything in detail. She spoke of their infertility struggles, the despair that drove them to desperation, and the twisted justification they clung to, that they believed they could give Ellie a better life. "We loved her," Lisa sobbed, her voice cracking. "We never meant to hurt anyone, but love wasn't enough to excuse what they'd done." As news of the case spread, public outrage grew. Social media exploded with comments about Ellie's story, some expressing sympathy for her plight, others vilifying Henry and Lisa without mercy. Reporters camped outside the police station, eager to catch a glimpse of the young woman whose vacation turned into a nightmare. For Ellie, the attention was suffocating. She wanted nothing more than to disappear, to escape the glare of cameras and the judgment of strangers. But she knew running wouldn't solve anything. She had to face this head-on, even if it meant confronting the most painful truths about herself and the people she thought she knew. As days passed, the investigation intensified. Authorities uncovered disturbing details about Henry and Lisa's meticulous planning, the fake documents, the staged distractions, the calculated timing of the abduction. It became clear that their actions weren't impulsive. They had been deliberate, cold-blooded decisions made over weeks, maybe even months. The revelation shocked Ellie to her core. She had always seen Henry as strong and dependable, Lisa as kind and nurturing. Now she saw them as criminals, masterminds of a crime that robbed an innocent family of their child. The cognitive dissonance was overwhelming. Amidst the turmoil, Ellie began forming fragile connections with Nessa and Edric. They shared stories about her early years, how she used to giggle uncontrollably whenever Edric tickled her feet, how she loved playing peekaboo with Nessa in the park. Slowly, Ellie started to see glimpses of the life she might have had. There were moments when she felt a spark of belonging, a flicker of recognition that hinted at the bond she could rebuild with her biological parents. But those moments were fleeting, often overshadowed by guilt and confusion. She still cared deeply for Henry and Lisa. Despite everything, the conflict within her raged on, threatening to consume her entirely. One evening, as Ellie scrolled through old photos on her phone, she stumbled upon a picture of herself and Henry, taken just days before the trip to London. In it, he was grinning, proudly, his arm wrapped tightly around her shoulders. Tears welled up in her eyes as she traced the edges of the screen with her finger. That man, the one who had taught her how to ride a bike, who had stayed up late helping her study for exams, who had hugged her tight after her first heartbreak, was gone, replaced by a stranger whose actions defied comprehension. Ellie realized then that forgiveness wouldn't come easily, if at all, but neither would forgetting. The climax approached. As Ellie prepared to testify against Henry and Lisa, the thought terrified her. Facing them in court meant reliving every painful moment, exposing the fractures in her identity to the world. Yet, it was something she knew she had to do, not just for justice, but for closure. As she rehearsed her statement with detectives, her voice trembled, her hands shook, and her mind drifted back to the bathroom where Henry had locked her in. The fear she had felt then returned, raw and visceral. Could she stand in front of a judge and jury and recount the horrors she endured, or would the weight of it all crush her before she even stepped foot in the courtroom? In the final days leading up to the trial, tensions reached a breaking point. Ellie received messages from both sides. Supporters urging her to seek justice, critics accusing her of betrayal. Even friends back home weighed in, their opinions amplifying the noise in her head. Meanwhile, Nessa and Edric stood by her side, offering quiet strength and unwavering support. "Whatever you decide, we'll stand with you," Nessa promised, gripping Ellie's hand tightly. "You're not alone in this." Those words brought Ellie a sliver of comfort, but the road ahead remained daunting. And so, as the sun rose, on the morning of the trial, Ellie found herself standing outside the courthouse, surrounded by reporters and curious onlookers. Her heart pounded in her chest, her palms slick with sweat. She glanced at Nessa and Edric, their faces pale but resolute, then took a deep breath and stepped forward. This was it, the moment where truths would be laid bare, where consequences would unfold, and where Ellie's future would be decided. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for certain: her life would never be the same again. As Ellie sat in the small sterile room with Nessa and Edric, her mind raced with questions about what came next. The officer explained her options: staying in London, returning to the US, or even taking time to figure out where she truly belonged. But none of those choices felt straightforward. Every decision seemed to pull her in two directions: toward the life she'd known with Henry and Lisa, however tainted it was, and toward the unknown future with Nessa and Edric, who represented both hope and heartache. For now, though, she agreed to stay in a safe house, arranged by the authorities, until everything could be sorted out. Over the next few days, Ellie's world continued to shift. News outlets picked up her story, turning it into an international sensation. Reporters clamored for interviews. Strangers weighed in online, and the public debated whether Henry and Lisa deserved any sympathy given their actions. Amidst all the noise, Ellie struggled to focus on what mattered most: healing. She spent hours talking to counselors provided by the police, unpacking years of emotions that had been buried under layers of deception. Slowly, she began to untangle the love she felt for Henry and Lisa from the betrayal of knowing they had stolen her away from her biological family. Meanwhile, Nessa and Edric did everything they could to make Ellie feel comfortable. They shared stories about her early childhood, the little things she used to do as a toddler, the way she loved peeking through the fence at the park, how her laugh lit up their home. At first, these memories felt foreign, almost like they belonged to someone else. But over time, Ellie started to see glimpses of herself in those tales. It wasn't easy. Every shared memory also reminded her of the years she'd lost. Still, she appreciated their effort to reconnect, to rebuild what had been shattered. The trial against Henry and Lisa loomed ahead, casting a shadow over everything. Ellie knew she would have to testify, to recount the events leading up to her escape. in front of a courtroom full of people. The thought terrified her. How could she stand there and relive the moment Henry hit her? The panic of being locked in, the bathroom, the shock of learning her entire life was built on lies. But deep down, she understood that this was part of reclaiming her truth, of holding them accountable for the pain they'd caused, not just to her, but to her real parents, too. When the day finally arrived, Ellie walked into the courthouse surrounded by Nessa, Edric, and a team of supportive advocates. Her knees shook, her palms were sweaty, but she held her head high. As she took the stand, the weight of everyone's eyes on her felt suffocating. Yet when she began speaking, something unexpected happened. Her voice steadied. She told her story plainly, without embellishment, letting the facts speak for themselves. When she described finding the flyer, overhearing Henry and Lisa's confession, and ultimately escaping with Lisa's help, the courtroom fell silent. Even the reporters stopped typing, captivated by the raw honesty in her words. Henry and Lisa looked broken as they sat beside their lawyers, their faces pale and drawn. During their testimonies, they admitted to everything: the planning, the abduction, the years of living with the guilt. Lisa broke down multiple times, apologizing not just to Ellie, but to Nessa and Edric too. Henry, ever the stoic, tried to maintain composure, but faltered when he spoke about his love for Ellie. "We never meant to hurt anyone," he said, his voice cracking. "We just wanted a family." In the end, justice was served. Henry and Lisa were sentenced to prison, their crimes deemed too severe for leniency. While some might have argued that their actions stemmed from desperation and love, the court ruled that no amount of affection justified kidnapping a child. For Ellie, the verdict brought a mix of relief and sadness. She didn't hate them, not entirely, but she couldn't forgive them either. Not yet, maybe not ever. After the trial, Ellie returned to London with Nessa and Edric. They rented a small flat near Hyde Park, close to where she had been taken all those years ago. It was symbolic in a way, a chance to start anew in the place where her life had been irrevocably changed. Over time, Ellie grew closer to her biological parents, rediscovering parts of herself she hadn't realized were missing. She enrolled in university, pursuing a degree in psychology, inspired by her own journey of self-discovery and healing. But Ellie never forgot Henry and Lisa. On quiet nights, she sometimes wondered how they were doing behind bars, if they regretted their choices, or still believed they had acted out of love. She kept the photo of herself as a toddler, the one Henry had shown her during his confession, tucked safely in a drawer. It was a reminder of the complexity of her past, of the duality of human nature, how love and harm can coexist in ways that defy logic. Years later, when Ellie stood on Tower Bridge again, this time with Nessa and Edric by her side, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't thought possible. The city that had once been the backdrop for her darkest moment now symbolized resilience and renewal. As she gazed at the river below, she realized that while the scars of her past would always remain, they no longer defined her. She was more than the sum of her experiences. She was a survivor, a daughter, and above all, herself. Ellie's story became a testament to the power of truth and the strength it takes to confront it. For anyone watching, it served as a reminder that identity is not fixed, that families are forged not just by blood, but by choice and connection. And though life may throw unimaginable challenges our way, it is possible to find light, even after the darkest storms.